Hello and welcome to One-to-One podcast, the House of Klajn sessions, powered by Creative Europe and brought to you by Gato Escaldado, Lisbon, Portugal, Keha Festival from Oulu, Finland, and House of Klajn, Klanjec, Croatia. So Dunja talked with three interesting artists who spent 3 weeks working, creating, and living in our house, creating their pieces for Keha Festival in Finland and One-to-One Festival in Lisbon. So enjoy listening.
Marieta died peacefully in an incredible clean death. Her colleagues at the hospital, where she volunteered on her last years, said it was the cleanest death they ever saw. No blood.
Okay, so here we are at the House of Klajn in Klanjec, Croatia, during a one-to-one residency. I'm Dunja and you are...
I'm Lena, hello.
Hey, it's a new podcast episode of our one-to-one project podcast, but is it an interview or is it a conversation or is it some kind of... One-to-one moderated performance? I don't know. It's something yet to be discovered. Lena, you can tell something more about you, other than these exotic information like you're from another continent and so on.
Okay, so I'm Lena. I'm an artist, I'm a dramaturg, a writer. Now here I'm a performer and I'm from another continent. Here in my continent I'm just from this continent, like everyone else. I'm used to eating other fruits than you. I don't know, other informal stuff. Okay. You want to have a dog?
Yeah, that's enrichment in life, definitely, I would say.
Yeah. I have a critics blog. I work with lots of things, like all the artists. We have to have multiple jobs, but all mine are inside the theater.
But when you talk about being a dramaturg and an artist, how is that for you in now, this day and age?
Experience.
What do you do? What are you interested in?
Okay.
Yeah.
I always read a lot, and I was always interested by literature. And then when I started studying theater, and I realized I like much more dramaturg, because I think in theater you have more freedom of discover new, of doing experimental things, and with new different structures from of texts, and I think in theater you may have more possibilities of writing and experimenting, like I am doing now in the one-to-one project. People are more interested in seeing different types of writing and different structures. And for me, this experience of the one-to-one is new, because I always work in groups. Even writing, I'm used to working. I did, of course, lots of works, me and my computer in my room. But I always like to test something on the scene, and like a change from like what is working, what's not working.
And how is it? You said that. You are now a performer. Is this your first time performing something like that? Not one-to-one, but generally performing, or have you had any experience with that?
I performed. I acted a lot, and then when I said, okay, I am a dramaturg, and I said like I will never perform in my life. because I want to write. Recently before I apply, I was with this thing like, I still like performing, but I want to try writing on stage. And I started to search for someone who wrote on stage, and I didn't found what I wanted, like somebody sitting and in the stage or something happening, but I found a world of performativity writings. They are all young women who the majority of people who are researching it. Yeah, and I was interested by that. When I applied to the one-to-one, I only had that references. And then a couple of months later, we had that festival in São Paulo. From Lusófonos people, countries who speaks Portuguese. African countries who speaks Portuguese. And this came on Jackie. I don't know if you know him. He's a writer from Angola, and he's a famous poet. And I went to see what he was doing because I didn't know he performed. I only knew he write books. And his performance was he writing poems on a big screen, and a digital artist at the same time, and a pianist. Yeah. And they all were one gives the inspiration to the other at the same time. It was 1 hour of just looking like a landscape. It was beautiful, and we read, and somebody, like some old man, screamed something on the, like, oh my God, nothing will happen. And like on Jackie wrote on the board like, shut up. And it was beautiful, and that was like the only reference I had. And I had at the end I talked to him, and I was, oh my God, how do you do it? How do you prepare yourself? And he was like, I just go and write.
It's what I do.
Yeah,
I prepare.
And it was really nice. And yeah, this performance that I'm doing here is I hope it's the first I do in this what I call like a writer performance. And you write on stage, and the scene depends on the writing.
You told me just briefly before we talk a bit more about your work here. You told me about the dogs and the park and the letters to dogs and from dogs, and I would like you to share a bit more about that, and is it somehow connected to this? And
So this year in January I started in a artistic residency but it was in my city, with in a play called Diálogos Caninos, who is like dialogues with dogs. And it was a play it was presented on an international festival. And the director was Argentina, and that was one of the reasons I went to do it. And she works with community theater. So and that play we were working on a park in downtown. The idea was talk about the relationship between the humans and the dogs. And we just talking to the people, to the tutors of the dogs, and talking. And I mean, after 2 weeks, we knew everybody because it's the same people. So, this lady, she walks in the morning. Now this walks on the night, and we start creating a community with the neighbors. We call them neighbors, and we know like, this dog is really nice, but the tutor is not, or the opposite. Like this woman is really nice, but the dog doesn't get along with any other dog. And we like almost everybody from the play has had a dog, and we went with our dogs, and they made yeah, but they were friends.
So you went with
Plinio. Yeah, in the play I went with Plinio. And the idea was not a conventional play. The play was in different spaces of the park. We have different performances, and at the end we have like a dog party with
bones,
with everybody dancing.
Okay.
And because we did in this period of 2 months, we developed some activities to attract people, and one of the activities was like dance with your dog, and one of the people from the play was a dancer and an actress, and she was there all like 3 times a week dancing with the dogs. And she's a really nice person, and one of the activities was writing letters to your dog, and write the letter as your dog to you, so like the response, the dog talking to you. And we had lots of letters, and they were so nice, and we did like
a string?
Yeah, like a string with all the papers. And of some of the letters or some of the people I talked to, they had dogs that died. They didn't have dogs anymore, but they want to participate in the play. Yeah. So with some of the stories, I wrote obituaries of the dogs. And they were also on with the letters, so you as an audience, you could stop and read everything. And I was with, and I really enjoyed listening to these people and turning that into an obituary, to a text. It was like a memory, and usually also we don't do that with the dogs. Yeah. So it was really nice. And then it was on the end of at the beginning of the year. So I was with this thing, I want to write obituaries. And then I thought of this performance, what I write obituaries through. Basically, you, as an audience, you enter the space, and we talk. I ask you some questions about, like, if you have any unfulfilled wish, or if you have some kind of plan to when you die, or if you imagine your death in some way, questions about your death, but not only about it. And then you, when we talk for a little, after that, you can lie on a coffin. And while you're lying down, I write your obituary with this about the things you told me. So it's important that you are free to lie to me. So if you don't want to think about these things, or if you don't want to tell me about your death, of what you imagine, you can lie and you can create a character, and I think that will also be interest for me as a writer, and for you too. So yeah, and then I read the obituary, and you can keep it, and it's yours. So yeah, it's basically the performance.
Your performance is one of the, I think, very rare opportunities in life to experience lying in a coffin while alive.
Yes.
And, maybe some people won't come into the coffin and lie down. I mean, is that a reason why performance cannot happen?
No, I don't think so. You as an audience, when you enter the room and you see a coffin, maybe that's just only that is shocking, can be shocking. So I totally understand, and I think that if you don't want to lie in a coffin, we can still write the obituary. But I think maybe if you don't want to lie in a coffin, you don't want to write your obituary. My work, I read and I studied about death, but I don't wanna, I really don't wanna push anything, because of you can lie in the coffin and have any relationship with it, with any religion or any beliefs, or I don't know. I even I went to a death cafe. That is a thing. It's like international thing of death cafe. There is a community of people who organizes death cafe in all countries in the world, and people reunite like once a month or once each 2 weeks to talk about death, and not about grieving. It's about death. So the one I went, there was a man who has cancer, a terminal cancer, and he's 14 years in palliative care. So he knows a lot about that. And he said something that for me was really interesting. He said, for me, death is a fiction. We don't know death. And he said, it's a lie when you say that the only certain we have is that we are gonna die. We are all gonna die. No, the only certain we have is that we are here now. We don't know what's happening after death. He said, maybe death is a really charming and wonderful thing. And for me, it was. I mean, people, you know, there are lots of different perspectives on this, and I think I want to give the space to people still have their own perspective, you know. And I actually, now that I'm studying and I'm close to this topic, I'm thinking that maybe your relationship with death is one of the most essential things of your existence, like
your life now.
Of how you think, you know. Maybe if you believe that death is wonderful, for sure you have a total different perspective of someone who's afraid of dying. And you know, I think your relationship with death with your own death is like essential thing of knowing who you are. I don't know.
Yes. Death is present in art throughout the history, in the literature, in almost every classic has as much as love is, or some relationships is death. It's always the main one of the main topics or problems or fears or themes, or there is always something about that. And I think we actually are engaged more in that than we think we are, and that we would like to admit to ourselves. I'm really glad to be a kind of witness of what you're doing in a way that, let's be real, it's not gonna affect the history of humankind, but for you as an artist, for me as a participator in that, for anybody who will be in contact with that, I think it will make some difference. Maybe at least to have a good laugh.
Marieta died peacefully in an incredible clean death. Her colleagues at the hospital, where she volunteered on her last years, said it was the cleanest death they ever saw. No blood. People remember Marieta as a kind and generous person, not only by her work with health, but also with shoes. She gifted lots of homeless people with shoes they couldn't afford. Marieta gifted the moms who would abandon their boots to buy sandals for their kids. She is now laying next to her family and living a happy life or death in heaven.
Well, I like this one-to-one communication with you today. Thank you very much for this, Lena. And we will talk more after your performances. And
Okay.
Hope you have a nice evening and the rest of your stay in Klanjec.
Thank you for having me here in the podcast and in your house.
You're welcome. Anytime you come to Europe, you're welcome here on this continent. Okay.
You were listening to audio excerpts from Lena Giuliano's piece, Writing on Someone's Grave. Good to have you with us, and see you soon.